Welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market Garden Shorts. Today we're going to be talking about the specimen in front of you right here. This one. Its scientific name is Satureja montana, or commonly known as winter savory. It's in the mint family, Lamiaceae, and the interesting thing about its name is that the origin or meaning of Satureja, assuming I'm pronouncing that correct, is unclear. I cannot find any reference to what it means, where it came from, who named it. That's fine. Montana does not mean what you think it means. It actually just means mountains, or coming from the mountains, which is interesting because this plant here likes to grow on rocky cliff faces and rocky soils and in between crags and things like that. It is native to Europe, Africa, and the Mediterranean. However, here it is a somewhat uncommon garden perennial. Common is a bit of a stretch. It is hardy in USDA zones 6 through 10. It is a perennial evergreen herb. Its soil pH preference is 6 to 8.0, but it does its best in poor soil with good drainage. Much like horehound, actually, and a few others. A lot of the really good aromatic herbs do well in crap soil with good drainage. They do their best when you fertilize them, or you amend the soil to have stuff like composted cow manure, things like that in it. Its preferred exposure is full sun. Its height will be about 12 inches, and its width will also be about 12 inches. Now, our specimen here, in this case, down here, is about maybe 6 inches, and it's spreading, so yeah, it's getting there. Savory, unless maintained in the southeastern climate, will peter out, and then you'll have to replace it much like thyme. It requires, in full sun, regular watering to do its best job. Now, interestingly, in a culinary sense, it's typically paired with meats and or beans to add flavor. It's called savory because it adds a savory flavor, which is the actual normal term for umami. No, that's not a yo mama joke. Moving along. Satureja hortensis, or summer savory, by comparison, is an annual. I prefer the perennial because on the economy basis, you get more bang for your buck, or more herb for your buck. Winter savory was used by ancient Romans and Greeks 2,000 years ago, and there is solid proof of this. So, this plant has been in cultivation for ages. It's barely been tampered with, which is a bonus. There is a dwarf version and a pure white flower version. I prefer the straight non-dwarf, non-modified version because it produces these lovely, as you can see, almost needle-like leaves. It's very flavorful. There is a catch, though. The flavor is stronger than summer savory, but it loses its flavor in prolonged cooking. So the trick with summer savory, which I always say in a lot of cooking, is to withhold some herbs for the last 10 minutes or so, and maybe have some for reheating across the week so that you can keep adding flavor. Sorry, mosquitoes are chewing on me. Anyway, it is a companion plant for beans because it repels bean weevils, which is always a bonus. You should consider that. I'm not so sure how that works with cowpeas, but they're talking about string beans and, pole beans and things like that. In a medicinal light, its therapeutic grade oil can inhibit the growth of Candida albicans, which is the exact yeast that can cause certain problems for the lady folk. Gonna leave that alone. Y'all can do the research yourself. It may or may not treat colic and flatulence. It has antiseptic, aromatic, carminative, expectorant, and it may have anti-inflammatory features, considering that it can be used to treat bee stings. I'm assuming that it can also treat wasp stings as a result, because the body's reaction is very similar regardless of what you get stung by. But, as a whole, this is a fairly easy plant to grow. You don't need to amend the soil much, but you'll get the best results when you do. I've had approximately 3 of these plants in the test gardens over the last 10 years or so, and they last for a couple of years. I've finally worked out how to grow them, and basically you kind of treat them like you would the horehound or the coneflower that's next to it, which is fabulous. But anyway, you treat them like that. You give them reasonably regular water, not a lot, just enough, and fertilize them maybe once a month to get the best of that. Too much fertilizer and they get fluffy growth, and then they may get mowed down by cold temperatures or something like that. You don't want them to overgrow, but you want them to be fed just enough to store enough energy to survive the winter. The best harvesting time for these plants are during the warm months so that you can get the most of it, but you can harvest sparingly like you would with a rosemary, picking a few select sprigs every so often during the winter. You don't want to drive the plant to extinction. Beyond that, there is little else to say about savory other than that it's fabulous. Now, I did look into whether or not summer savory was one of the ingredients in those fake salts, and it turns out it's not. Go figure. They're using an unusual, I believe they're using potassium chloride as opposed to actual salt, which has other problems. Potassium chloride has other problems. But anyway, with that said, this is winter savory, personally in my opinion the best savory. That's all I have for you today, so if you like this video, like or subscribe. If you have any facts to share or you want to ask any questions, go ahead and leave them funky comments in the comments section. And as always, folks, keep them growing. Thanks for watching.